Okay, we are back. I'm very happy to have on the Goldstein on Gelt show, Roger Whitney, the retirement answer man, here with me again. Roger, how you doing?
Heyo, doing great. Great here in Texas.
Oh, yeah. All right.
So the other day, Doug, I was talking with someone, and this concept of time versus money came up. And we've had high gas prices here for a while, and those have plummeted recently. But when gas prices were high, I remember having a conversation with my father-in-law about him driving like 15 miles out of his way to save 10 cents a gallon on gas.
Oh, man. It's crazy how people, they'll think one thing, and then they think they're saving money, but really it's costing them so much more.
But we really approach the two differently. So how old are you, Doug?
I am 46.
You are 46 years old.
How about you?
I am 49. But according to those life expectancy tables, I'm here to tell you, Doug, you have life expectancy currently of 33 years, which is just over 12,000 days, 12,445 days exactly.
Wow, so I'm more than halfway done with this thing, huh? This thing they call life.
So tomorrow, theoretically, you're going to have 1 day less, and then the next day, 1 day less. So your time is diminishing on this earth. Man, this is getting depressing.
No, it is depressing.
And mine is less.
Okay, so luckily we're hanging out together. But, I think that the difference is, apart from the kind of the philosophical thing you're saying, it's just the absolute money of it. I was actually speaking to a client recently who wanted to wire money. I sit in Israel, so I deal with people who are mostly Americans who live in Israel, and they have American brokerage accounts or bank accounts. And this client was buying a house, and she needed to wire money to Israel. And instead of spending the $50 fee that she could have spent, she found out that there was another bank that would charge $25 to wire the money. So she opened another bank account, which was a huge hassle. And then she wasn't able to wire directly to her bank and had to go through an intermediary, which was even more of a hassle. And all this to save $25 on a wire. It must have taken her hours and hours and hours. And now she doesn't even realize that she has this other bank account which she's trying to close. And so she may get a 1099 at the end of the year and have to give that to her accountant and pay him to do the accounting on all of this. So I think people need to be a little, not so penny wise and pound foolish. Is that the phrase?
That is, and it's sort of, if you calculated the, what she was paid per hour to do that, I mean, it would be minuscule. And where it comes up for me, Doug, is in conversations about taking care of the future. We all think about retirement and maintaining our lifestyle. And a lot of times we'll have legacy goals of leaving some money for whether it's our children or our grandchildren. And having that as one of your priorities, from a financial perspective, really puts a burden on the life that you're allowed to live while you're retired or independent or whatever you want to call it, right? Because you got to make sure that money is there at the end. Mm-hmm. And I'll always challenge them a little bit and talk to them, well, why not use some of that money to create experiences for the family while you're alive? Because that's the time you have, and that's the most valuable part.
That's right.
And money, not that money is infinite, right? They can print as much as they want. But, you got
Well, not the clients. They're not supposed to print it.
No, they are not. Yeah. But you can always earn more. And money is, it's something that is fluid where time, it just...
Well, I think you have to realize what the money is for. I actually had I've had this conversation many times. And in fact, I even had clients who didn't have children, and they were accumulating. So it wasn't a question of a legacy. And I said to them, well, why don't you spend some and go on a trip? And they weren't into it. And then we met again a few months later, and I said the same thing. About a year later, I finally get this call from Hawaii. And they go, Doug, guess what? We took your advice. And then every couple of months, they would call me from some other part in the world because finally they realized that the point of the money wasn't just to have more and more, but it was to use it for something. And whether you use it, for charity, which I think is a great idea, or you use it for family events, which is a great idea to bring the family together, or just to do things you like to do. It's, good financial planners, I think, don't spend all their time talking to clients about the money side of it. They spend much more time talking about what's important to the clients in their lives.
Exactly. And I think, that holding or grasping onto money has to do a little bit with this retirement crisis, which there is for a lot of people. I'm not discounting that. But we're fearful. So, I don't know about you, but my very, very wealthy clients don't feel any more secure than normal people. They just have...
Isn't that funny? Why is that, do you suppose? In other words, a lot of times people say, if only I had $1 million, and then they get it. They go, if I only had $2 million, and then they have $5 million. What's the psychology, you think, that makes people feel they always need to have more and more money?
Oh, you can go really deep there in that we're hardwired that way, and because we are so comfortable, we invent things to worry about because it's a survival thing. I was reading an article about that the other day. And I think the really important point, like with your client, is to realize it's time that is finite and the most important resource you have, not necessarily your money. So it's not as much as we spend our time on the money part of it, we need to spend our time making sure our time is maximized.
I think that applies also. I learned that in business as well. And originally I sort of felt guilty, like clients would say to me, hey, Doug, can you, I'm missing my April statement. Can you help me with that? And so, I would stop and I would figure out how to get it for them and I would do it for them. And then I realized, wait a second, I've got a team that does that kind of stuff, right? My time is much more valuable because I can spend time helping clients hopefully achieve their goals and their dreams. And I've got people whose job it is to handle this other stuff. And I shouldn't feel bad telling a client, well, finding your April statement is not my job. It's not what I do. And let me get, I'll arrange for it, but let me get someone else to do that for you. And I think you see people who are successful in business are the ones who understand what they're good at and do what they should be doing. Even if they're good at, I'm good at finding April statements too. But, people should be figuring what they should be doing and letting other people do what they should be doing. And that's not always so easy, that kind of delegation.
Yeah, and exactly. And in your personal life, what should you be doing with your time that's impactful? I think that's, and worry about that just as much or more than your money. So I think this is a good perspective we always need to be reminded of.
Yeah. Roger, great points. I'm glad we brought that up. I don't know if we discussed this concept enough, but I appreciate you bringing that up. So Roger, just in the last few seconds, tell me, how can people follow you and follow your work?
You can check me out at the Retirement Answer Man podcast or at rogerwhitney.com.
All right. We'll put a link to that at the show notes of today's show at goldsteinongelt.com. Roger Whitney, thanks so much for your time.
You've been listening to the Goldstein on Gelt Show with money maven Doug Goldstein. Doug's weekly radio show is heard around the world, but if you miss it, you can download the podcast at www.goldsteinongelt.com. The Goldstein on Gelt Show gives you up-to-date financial ideas so you can get on the path to financial freedom. If you'd like your questions answered on the air or off, send Doug an email to doug@profile-financial.com. It's your money for your future, so join Doug every week to build your wealth on the Goldstein on Gelt Show.